The 2008 Clone Wars series allowed George Lucas to expand upon the prequel's story without being constrained to the time limitations of a movie trilogy. Along with developing main characters of the prequels such as Anakin Skywalker and Darth Maul, Lucas also sought to better develop the state of the galaxy shown in his movies and include more depth to the overall conflict. One of these ambitions included developing the state of the separatists of the Clone Wars and their relationship with the galactic corporations such as the Trade Federation and Techno Union that provided them with droid armies. Lucas's goal was to make it clear that the galactic corporations were not directly aligned with the separatists, and that they instead acted as profiteers which sold weapons and provided resources to both sides of the conflict. This was also his reasoning for creating the Separatist Parliament and showcasing members of the Trade Federation, Banking Clan, and others within the Republic Senate. But there was one ship in the early creation of the Clone Wars that went against this effort Lucas was trying to accomplish, and it was the Trade Federation Lucrehulk-class battleship. In the Clone Wars Umbara featurette, Dave Filoni mentions this very fact when going over the reason as to why they had to create an entirely new ship design during the spaceship battle that took place in the third episode of the story arc. A link to the full Umbara featurette will be included in the description for those interested. Originally, the supply ship that the clones were supposed to destroy was a Lucrehulk-class battleship, but Lucas had the Clone Wars team remove it and replace it with an entirely new ship design, which came to be known as the DH Omni Support Vessel, also known simply as the Separatist Supply Ship. Lucas's reasoning for this was to visually differentiate the ships the Separatists used and those that the Trade Federation used in their everyday commerce. To him, the inclusion of the Lucrehulk-class battleship during the early episodes of the Clone Wars undermined his efforts in telling the story of how big business like the Trade Federation were playing both sides of the war and held a largely neutral position in the war. Dave Filoni goes on to clarify Lucas's comments by mentioning the Separatist Council scene shown in Attack of the Clones, stating how the leaders of the galactic corporations were there simply to make a business deal with Count Dooku by selling their battle droids and warships, rather than outright join the Confederacy of Independent Systems itself and supporting it with their personal ships. So having the Lucrehulk-class battleships and having them be led by members of the Trade Federation did not make sense to Lucas, as it linked them to the Separatists too much. Lucas also had the Clone Wars team remove the Separatist markings of the Lucrehulk-class battleships in the episode's Sphere of Influence, since it was the Trade Federation that had kidnapped the daughters of Chairman Papanoida, and he wanted to make it very clear that they were not involved with the Confederacy. This is also why the Lucrehulk-class battleship did not appear in the Clone Wars after the Umbara arc, with it being fully replaced by the Separatist supply ship for future episodes. Despite all this effort Lucas made to accomplish his goal of differentiating the Separatists and the galactic corporations, Dave Filoni brought up an interesting point to him on the matter: why there were clearly marked Separatist Lucrehulk-class battleships during the Battle of Coruscant as seen in the Revenge of the Sith movie. Filoni explained the answer that he was given was that by that time in the war, many of the galactic corporations, the Trade Federation specifically, had begun to publicly back the Separatists and went all in for their support. They likely believed the Confederacy of Independent Systems was on the edge of winning the war and wanted to reap the rewards following their victory, being fully unaware that the entire war was staged by Palpatine, and that the Separatists were doomed to lose from the very beginning. So that's the behind-the-scenes reason as to why George Lucas wanted to remove the Lucrehulk-class battleship from the Clone Wars, and how it related to his greater efforts in giving depth to the overall conflict itself. Let us know what you thought of his explanations, and if you want to see more videos based off behind-the-scenes interviews from the creators of Star Wars.